Um, well, we've had quite a few Pooty Blues, and we went to a nice restaurant tonight. I tell you now, they've got the red wine was nice, and those what do they call those cello things after the last? Oh my God, they were all right as well. Now I'm in a coma here. We had a meeting at Gosford last Sunday. The track there was good. The rail was normal. Early in the day, we had a strong nor'easter, which was obviously against the leaders. But as the day went on, the wind eased a bit, and there were runners that were able to lead and win. But early in the day, the wind was slightly against leaders. We got to Randwick on Wednesday. The wind there was straight up the straight, directionally easterly, not a nor'easter, but easterly, straight into them as they turned for home. It did ease off a little bit towards the end of the day, but for some reason the track was dead, and the rail was normal. They said there was there was no evident a bias to me, and I would say that the track played very fair at Randwick on Wednesday. We went to Hawkesbury on Thursday, where the track was good, the rail was normal, the wind swung around. First 6 races possibly, it was out of the west or southwest, and swung around for the last 2 races to be out of the nor'east, more or less. But it didn't prevent, possibly it did in the very last race where the leader knocked up badly, but horses who were near the lead at Hawkesbury seemed to have some sort of an advantage. That was, even though horses did make up ground from behind to run into placings and also finish up close behind them, they didn't actually win, and horses who were up near the lead won most of the races. Then we got to today at Rosehill, where the track was dead. The rail was 3 metres out. They said it was a dead 4 after the first race. They downgraded to a dead 5, and they said it was a dead 5 between the 600 metre mark and the winning post, and then it was a slow 6 for the remainder from the post around to the 600 metre mark, and it was quite evident that the close to the fence was not the place to be. No runners or winners. There were leaders that won, but there were no, and finishing placings, but there were no, and it was an advantage, I suppose, to be near the lead. It was, but there were no runners that stayed close to the fence and were able to get home today, even though the last race, the winner and the second place getter in the last never left the fence after missing the kick slightly, and the winner was behind them, but when the leaders were off the fence coming to the turn, was able to get inside them, but was well off the fence. Anyway, we'll get to the first race here, and they said there was 107.2 on the screen, and only 101 in the marketplace, and this was won by Forever Loved Gay. I Own the Lead, and Gay, of course, trained a few winners here today, and it was able to, as I say, find the lead and not have to run along very hard in the lead, especially when they said that All Cerise was going to be ridden quieter today. It wasn't really ridden quieter. It was sitting directly behind the leader on the fence, as we saw when they turned for home. All Cerise got in between after Aspen and the pushed, more or less shouldered Aspen out of the way, who was weakening, and the leader and winner, Forever Loved, came out under a little bit of pressure, didn't really make, or could have made slight contact with the second horse, and putting it off its slightly off balance, and then again down towards the half furlong mark. But Hugh Bowman saved everybody's time, the stewards and also those who, I suppose, had backed the winner by not firing in a protest after being 1.8 lengths, saying to himself that the winner safely held him to the line, even though he did take his running a couple of times, and there was no chance of the protest being upheld. And coming from third last, Casino Dancer, who was well backed at one stage from $18 into about $12, $13. It made up a good bit of ground, but was beaten 3.6 lengths. First and second were by far the best runs in the race, although it was quite evident in this first race that you had to be off the fence, but as it turned out, the pattern for the rest of the day was shown fairly clearly in this first race, that yes, you could lead, be off the fence, save ground off the fence and get inside them and win. But if you were wide in the run, it wasn't the place to be. And trapped wide in this race was Canosa, who could have pulled up with a heart arrhythmia. It was wide all the way outside by the time they got to the turn outside the leaders, and it dropped out to be beaten 60 odd lengths. And also getting back in the field and coming wide around Canosa towards the turn was Define, who was the easing second favourite, from $4.20 out to $4.80. It was, well, they said it was very disappointing, which it was. Copped a bit of a check down the side, but it dropped out and was beaten 17.7 lengths, also very disappointing. And as I say, that could have been a bit of a pattern for which it turned out to be the case for the rest of the day. You couldn't be wide in the run and hope to win there today. The winner, as much as went up a $5 chance, 4-1 third pick, and got out to as much as $5.50, which was taken, and it started $5 fairly hard to get. It was the easing favourite, All Cerise. We put it up $2.50, got out to $3.20 or $3.30. Define was $4.20 out to $4.80. There was a bit of money at one stage for Canosa, but it got back out. They took $8 at one stage into $7.50, but got back out to $8. There was a bit of money for the bottom one, Marta Logo, after $12 was bet. It started at $9.50, although it was $10 when they jumped. The winner, I Own the Lead, proved too strong. Race 2, they said there was 102.5 on the screen, only 98% in the marketplace, for the captains down in the marketplace, and Ecuador, the Avery, was able to get home here. We put it up a $1.60 chance, went straight to the lead, trained by I Own the Lead Gay. It got out to $1.90, which you wouldn't see. Came in to start the 11-8 on favourite. We've all seen this race. We saw what happened, and Ecuador was able to go to the lead with Fireball, who sat on the south side and finished up, unfortunately, bleeding, running last, beaten 7.7 lengths. And tucked in behind them was Dana's Best, a stablemate to the winner. On its outside was Forget Maybe. Vel Rosso tucked in behind them on the fence. And outside it was Capers, who finished up running second. And on its back was the import Weary. And you had to be very wary of Weary today because before the first race, there was when there was some riding tactics announced, that Weary was going to be ridden quieter today, and it was. Horseman Huey Bowman, he followed instructions to the T. He went back to second last. They didn't go real hard in front. By the same token, they didn't have an easy time up in the lead, but it was hard to make ground there today. And when they flattened out and turned for home, Ecuador was leading a good 4 to 5 off the fence. And as I say, it was full bore to the post. It was resuming today. Obviously, will be improved, but it did beat Capers by only 0.8 of a length, and Weary, who came off Capers' heels, was beaten 1.2 lengths. We have all seen, as I say, this race. If you were able to run this race again after the last, the Grumble and Grunters and the captains, after seeing what happened, and maybe if you're allowed to change your tactics, and they mightn't ride Weary as far back as they did, the betting in this race would be completely different. Instead of starting red odds Ecuador, there is no doubt it would be black odds for sure. There's a good chance it might still be able to get home, but there would be plenty of punters who wouldn't want to be on it, and there would be plenty of punters who bookmakers who would want to oppose it. Race 3, they said there was only a skinny 100.2 on the screen, 98% only in the marketplace for the poor captains, and this race was won by Moss Fun, the runner that had the one run at Randwick in that English race, and it was fairly impressive that day. It was also very impressive today. Alpha Miss, who took a while to cross the favourite 12 to find, whew, am I hot, who took its time to cross and lead the favourite 12, who had every possible chance. After finding the lead, 12 sucked up behind it. Looking at the pair was the $41 chance, who was backed at one stage of the betting, Quinana, and tucked in behind those from barrier 1 was Moss Fun. When they turned for home, they were well off the fence. 12 was able to get past Alpha Miss, but getting up on the inside of them was the winner, Moss Fun, and tailing it through was the second horse, Igrite, and who had only had one run before, like the winner. Both winners at their first starts, one at Kembla, one at Randwick, and it tailed the winner through and was only beaten 1 length, and it was a very good run. The favourite 12 had every possible chance. It was beaten 2.5 lengths. The winner and the second horse were possibly by far the best runs in that race. We got to race 4. On the screen, only 104.5. A couple less in the marketplace, about 102. This was won by the Avery, Fighting Sun. I Own the Lead Gay. She had 2 runners and she owned the lead. Mr. Char Char, who had one run before today at Wyong when it won, it crossed and went straight to the lead. Fighting Sun sat on the south side, the Avery, when they went past the line. Terrific Tommy Berry gave a woo-hoo. He must have thought it was a very strong win, which it did appear to be. It sat outside the stablemate, as I say. Tucked in behind them was the second pick, Gibellines, and it was $4.60 out to $5.50. It raced very ungenerously in the run for a good 2 or 3 furlongs. Jay Collette, he couldn't settle it. It wanted to race with its head high and running about a bit, and it was tucked in behind them, and on its outside was the 80-to-1 chance backman who ran a fair race. But that when they turned for home, Fighting Sun was able to get past its stablemate fairly easily, and it held on all right. Mr. Chart ran second, but was beaten 3 lengths, and coming off its back and being able to get past it was the second pick, Gibellines, and I suppose it was a bit disappointing. The winner, I suppose it was a strong win, and wherever it starts next, it will be well in the market, and also well in Golden Slipper betting as well. Race 5. Well, here we saw the flux screen for the robots only say there was 99.3, but the 4 poor captains who are down in the marketplace betting those hard, tough pros, where you bookies in the grandstands are betting all the steam tugs, and they're taking the members taking unders all the time. We're betting the pros and those retired Greek card players who won't make a move until they see something go off, and they try to secure those odds, if not better odds. And of course, there's one captain in the ring who, if there happens to be a loose, good cash punter about, he throws a noose around there, Gregory Peck. He says, "Come here, come here. I'll betcha a roll, whatever you can see." We stole everyone's customers. And in this race, as I say, in the marketplace, there was only 95%. And I'm going to have to send a few bowlers into that captain too. In this race, we saw the favourite win it, El Rocker, this runner from New Zealand, resuming from a spell today, and won a trial in New Zealand. The flux in this race, Romantic Touch, stablemate to Aussie's Love Sport. It opened up $9 and got out to 17. Aussie's Love Sport, oi, oi, oi. And I've jerried with this oi, oi, oi business. How I must admit, of course, when the Olympics came on and saw them all there with their green and gold on, going whatever. I'm Aussie too, but oi, oi, oi. I haven't jerried to now, but I've noticed when listening to the racing channels, when a lot of the racing people, when they say 5 or 9, they don't say 5, they say 5, and they, instead of saying 9, they do 9. So I think that's got something to do with the oi, oi, oi. Aussie's Love Sport was $6.50 out to $7.50, back into $6.50, but got back out to $8 at the finish, and unfortunately pulled up with a respiratory complaint. And Gay said that now we're going to send it to the doctors or the hospital to have a wind operation, so it might come back if it's able to breathe a bit better, a much better runner. Dissident was resuming from the spell today, hadn't trialled, it jumped a bit awkwardly, it got onto the back of the winner but was safely held. It hung out under pressure, as I say. El Rocco got us the favourite, and winner got a very soft running behind Aussie's Love Sport and Purandella, who sat outside it to the turn. It was $2.60. We put it up 13 to 8 the field, got out to as much as $3.20, which wouldn't seem well, $3.10 best luck, very little difference. But came in, if you had up $2.60 at the finish, the pros said, "What do you want? Do you want 130 million to 80 million? No, I can't bet you that much, bet you half." If you had the 13 to 8 up, they beat you live. Was 6 to 4, fairly hard to get. Hooked, well, you were hooked if you backed it. It hadn't trialled. $19 out to 21, back into about 17. One of the pros backed it, so he must have thought it had a good chance. And that Pooty Blue and those Celluellos, whatever they call them, they're kicking in. Pirandello, you wouldn't see it as much. Played a good bit of $9 early in the piece, betting, which didn't appear on the Fluck board, 8 to 1. It was into $6.50, very, very hard to get. Might have even touched $6 at one stage, but got back out to 7 towards the end of betting. Only about 95 we gave there. The captains were giving section away. And as I say, the favourite got a lovely suck in behind the leaders and went away and won by 2 lengths. It found the line very strongly and I suppose will be improved. Race 6, they said there was a 101.9 on the screen, very skinny. 98% only in the marketplace. These were the Flux. Streamer went from $4.60 out to $8, back into $7.50. Steps in Time, $4.60 out to $7.50. Catkins, the winner, got a good run, but it was a fairly strong win by the same token. $4.60, gradually kept on coming in the market all the way. And at the finish, they took the $4 to start, $3.80, fairly hard to get. Shardy Rose, $20 out to 21. Dre Fontaine, you wouldn't see it, $10 out to 14. The Avery, White Sage, $2.50 out to 2.80, into $2.50, back out to 2.60, back into 2.50, 6 to 4, the field had started. Favourite, and 100 out to 150 Pretty Pins. Now, we all thought the Steps in Time would go to the lead, which it did. It came across, ridden by the pumper. Now, it had barrier 1 Catkins. We thought it would tuck in behind on the fence, which it did. And then we had Drayden Fontaine drawing barrier 2 outside Catkins. Well, it did sit outside Catkins. And the favourite White Sage, we thought it sitting outside those pair, Catkins and also Dre Fontaine, well, ridden by James McDonald, he would go forward outside those two, and when it came across Steps in Time, let it go to the lead, and then I'll wait there, I'll get to your outside. If that was, of course, the way the race would have been run, there's a very good chance White Sage might have won the race. But as it turned out, we had Steps in Time going to the lead, as we all thought would happen. Catkins behind it, on his out Dre Fontaine, and tucked away behind them on the fence in a little bit of an awkward position, although it had plenty of galloping room all of the way, was White Sage. And when they turned for home, Catkins took the entire length of the straight to wear down the leader, Steps in Time, who was always well off the fence. Joe Pride trained Steps in Time now, and got a bye near the line to win by 0.1 of a length. Horseman Bowman versus J. Pumper Cassidy, 2 great riders, and as I say, not losing any admirers whatsoever, beaten 2.4 lengths by the same token, was the benchmark horse going up to open to group company today, was White Sage, and but as I say, beaten 2.6 lengths. Maybe if it sat outside the leader, if it would have been where Catkins was, I know it's easy to say, but maybe it might have got the cash. We got to race 7. Here we had 101.5 on the screen, but in the marketplace, only 97%. Now, these were the Flux in this race. $4.60 out to 4.80, back into 3.80 at the death, Jacqueline Bay, who looked certain to win coming to the turn. The favourite, Janube, who apparently stood on itself in the tie-up stalls after its plates went on, loosening one of the plate, and also just taking a little bit off one of its hooves, off that hoof that it stood on. Maybe that had something to do with its getting out well in the market, or also most people saying that it was hard to come from behind and it's going to settle down in last position. Well, it settled down in third last position, but it was back there. whether those two things had something to do with it getting out the market, but it got out from $2.70 out to $3.90, back into $3.70 towards the finish of betting. It didn't start favourite. Charing Cross went from $8 to $12. Honourable Aussie from $9 out to $13. We had Vaquera open up $4 and finish up starting favourite. It was into $3.40 at one stage, fairly hard to get. Got to $3.50 towards the end of betting. Scottish Border was $14 out to $16, back into $14 and $15. And Black Tsunami was $160 out to $150, back into $81. And it went to the lead Honourable Aussie, which was thought to be the case. On its outside was Charing Cross, getting a good suck up behind them all the way was Jacqueline Bay. Then we had Scottish Border on the fence, on its outside Janube. The 100-to-1 chance Black Tsunami back second last on the fence, and on its outside after missing the kick was Vaquera. Turn for home. It was the runner travelling by far the best, the second, Jacqueline Bay, who finished up running second but beaten 3 3/4 lengths. He had the leaders covered very easily. Sucking up behind him by the time they got to the turn was the eventual winner, Janube. And Janube was being pushed along, whereas Jacqueline Bay, Christian Reith hadn't gone for it yet. But when he did go for it, he did get past the leaders fairly easily, but there wasn't as much there as there appeared. And after winding up and joining Jacqueline Bay halfway up the straight, it it gave it a cold in the last furlong and a half to beat it by 3 3/4 lengths. Run the race again. It would most certainly be an odd, instead of being $3.70, it would be, I haven't repriced this race, but just looking at it, I would say it would have to be at least a 6 to 4 on chance if, when I reprice them, at least. Now in race 8, we had a bit of a discrepancy here in the fluctuations for the robots and what us poor captains had to try and scrape and what's the word, and scrape and it's just gone out of my head. I've had too many pen and inks, and graft away. 105.1 on the screen, 96 only in the marketplace. Now these were the flux. $10 out to $17 D&G. Harara, $8 out to $10. Skiptown was $8 to $8.50 to $7.50, back to $8.50. Husserman, who ran a fair race, was 18 out to 19, back into 12. I was 14 when they jumped. Express Power, 19 out to 26, back into 21. Ran a fair race as well. Came from well back, third last, ran third in between runners. Dream Choice, the winner. The captains couldn't get it out quick enough. We put it up a $4.60 chance. You wouldn't see it. $8 given in the outside ring. $7.50 on the fence. Started only $6.50. Ernest. Now the best flucked about Ernest was $10. Well, there was $15 given in the outside ring and 14 on the fence, and started 13 on the fence. I was 13 when they jumped in the outside ring. Bit of difference. What do we got there? At 9% versus 6, there's 3% straight away nearly. Monoballistic, well, it went from $8 out to $8.50, back into $7.50, but I was $9 again when they jumped. Mr. Jackman, $4.60, you wouldn't see it, out to $5 on the fence, back into $3.90 favourite when they jumped. Then we had Granddaughter, and haven't I got some beautiful granddaughters? Oh my godfather, I'm a very, very lucky man. And I've also got at the stage a beautiful grandson as well. Fort Sumter, 20 out to 26, and second string 200 out to a monkey to 500 to 1. And I bet a nice man there's a good chance. Oh, I don't even think I struck a caser for it, and I was a monkey when they jumped. You think I would have laid 5,000 to a brick? I couldn't even find. Would the owners of second string, the 8-year-old, please step forward? They might have had something on the giddy go. I'm going to give 140 to 1 on the machine. Monkey at the races. Now this race, we had Fort Sumter, who ran third last, beat 11.6 lengths, couldn't cross Mr. Jackman, who held it out all the way to the turn. They were well off the fence. And 3 wide outside the pair was Harara, tucked in behind them D&G, in behind D&G from barrier 2, and D&G had barrier 1. From barrier 2 was the winner on its back. On its outside was Skip Town, and back on the fence behind Dream Choice, after missing the kick and sucking up a bit, was the horse that ran second, staying closest to the fence all day and running a place, was Ernest. But even though it was in the worst section of the ground, Ernest will do that to you every day. The winner, when they turned for home, the leaders were well off the fence. He was able to, ridden by Tim Clark, was able to get up inside them and sprint very, very quickly and finish up winning by 3.3 lengths. We put it up the opening equal favourite with Mr. Jackman. Mr. Jackman started the clear-cut favourite. As I say, bookies reached for the winner, but they did take the 750 or 8 in the outside ring, 750 on the fence and 7 towards the finish, and it won like a much shorter priced runner than what was offered at the track, even a lot shorter than its opening quote. Well, look, that was about the meeting there today. As I say, you had to be, I suppose, up near the lead, and off the fence was an advantage. Wide in the run wasn't any good. Now, of course, there's a great meeting on tomorrow at Wyong. Tomorrow. Now, you know, don't bet if you're going to have a bet. Why not jump in the car? Doesn't matter where you are, and stroll to Wyong and come and look at the horses parade, and the captains will give you a much better deal than you can do anywhere else, and plus you can back them to win a lot more at the track than you can with the corporates, and also the filthy cancer of racing. So why not come to Wyong tomorrow? We'll accommodate you. You know, racing at the moment seems to be, as I might have said at the beginning of the meeting, you know, it was a Lightning Stakes day in Melbourne. We had a Group 2 race today at Rosehill. We originally had 60, there were 8 races. We originally had 64 acceptances, 3 scratchings. We had 61 runners only. And what's happening? Racing New South Wales, of course, they're getting plenty of money. Just as well, that court case was won, getting the what us captains on course are paying now, and also the percentage from what the corporates are also turning over. I wonder what would have happened if that wouldn't have gone the right way. But you know, so you get people you get them by the shoulders when you can't get them to really sink in, and you say you don't shake them till their heads fall off, but you get them by the shoulders and you say, now look, unfortunately, don't you understand that the people who keep this racing game going are the mud punters? Now, the quickest way to send the mud punters drunk, well, not drunk, but punch drunk and broke, is to put a race in front of them every 2 minutes, and that's what you're doing. You're sending we all know they're an army of ants, but you're the only, you've killed the goose that laid the golden egg. Can't you see what you're doing? All these race meetings. Who is going to be the first club to put their hand up and say, we're not racing? And another thing, I'm going to tell you now, I don't know what the date's going to be, but it's going to be soon. It's going to be a Sunday. I'm going to call a national strike. Bookies, punters, hickey hockeys, and also the trainers. We're not going to, don't care, we're not going to take part. It's going to come up shortly. I'm going to say no, that Sunday, there'll be, well, I don't know when it won't be too long. I'm going to say, I'm calling a national strike and I don't want any of you trainers to nominate your horses. And if the trainers who don't go along with the ban and they ring up the hickey hockeys, I want the hickey hockeys to say, no, we're not coming to ride this day, we're having a holiday. We can't work 7 days a week. Do you think these people who are running racing, you think they wouldn't work in an iron lung? You think they'd work 7 days a week like all of us people who are trying to keep this game going are doing? You're wearing us all out. You're killing everybody. You don't understand what you're doing. Good evening.